Yeah, so being the pressure was
Well, it was just to make sure that you behave. You don't.
it brings sort of embarrassment or something.
Exactly.
How many of your brothers, sir?
3 brothers.
Okay, so you are 4
4 of us. Yeah.
while he was there as principal.
Yeah.
Wow. But you are the first to.
I was the first. Yeah. I was the first.
Interesting.
Then there were some cousins who also came to me.
Okay.
So we're not the only Olatunbosuns that came to me.
Okay, I see.
Even one of my uncles came to Igbobi College
Okay.
as well. He came to do higher school. He was my father's very, very small brother.
Okay. Okay.
So he came to do his higher school.
HSC.
at
Okay.
Igbobi.
Was it a law or was it compulsory that the others you had wanted to be at Igbobi, then your 3 younger brothers, did they just follow you, or what made them to just
Well,
string along, or
they-
just a natural thing?
Yeah, it was natural. They also had to take the entrance exam, like everybody else.
Okay.
They had to take. Actually, Tokumbo, the one who was next to me,
Okay.
did not start at Igbobi College.
Okay.
He started at Egbadu College.
Okay.
He did both forms 1 and 2 at Egbadu College. It was when he was in form 3 that he transferred to Igbobi College.
Okay.
Then Dele, who
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
he started at Igbobi College and
Okay.
went all the way through to upper 6.
Oh, wow.
Benga, who is the last one, started at Igbobi and went only up to form 5. He
Okay.
left to go to Federal Government College, Janiki, to do his higher school.
Okay. But did you do HSC as well, Prof? or-
Myself?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. I wanted to, actually wanted to go and do HSC elsewhere.
Okay.
At that time, I remember telling my dad that I wanted to go. I got admission to comprehensive high school Ayeto.
Okay.
I wanted to go away from home.
Okay.
And my father said no. He said, what would it feel like if you, the four of the people, are leaving the school? What do you think if you want the other
That's
school?
right.
I think that was something which I agreed with him.
Yeah.
So I stayed at Igbobi to do my higher school at Igbobi.
The teachers, your classmates and people, what was it like? Knowing this is a principal's son, both the good and the bad. What, just a flavor of what?
I was treated like any other student. I don't think I was given any
Favors.
specific favor. I think some of the teachers liked me because
Okay.
I was quite good. I
Okay.
did well in class. And I remember an incident in which one of the prefects gave me an order note. I don't know whether you know what an order note is. Whether order notes existed when
I
you were
don't
at
think
Igbobi.
so.
Right. An order note can be given by a prefect
Okay.
or by a teacher.
Right.
It's like it's like a warning card.
Okay,
like a yellow
okay.
card.
Probably it was called a different name. Okay.
It was called an order note. If you did something that was serious
Okay.
enough, they will issue you another note. The other note will go to the housemaster,
Okay.
and the housemaster will punish you in whatever way you felt like. That's the first one. Now, it will be announced also
In the assembly.
in the assembly on Friday, the afternoon assembly on Friday, at the end of the week.
Wow.
So those who got other notes will be announced.
Okay.
That. Then, if you got a second one, you would, in the same time, you will be punished by your housemaster,
Okay.
and also you have to report also to the principal for a second
For that
punishment.
punishment. Okay.
You know, if you got a second order note in the time, and of course your name will be announced at the assembly. Now, if you got the third one in the time, you are
Game
suspended
over.
from school
Okay.
automatically for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, anyway, what happened was a prefect, Kowode, gave me another note. I didn't think I'd done anything.
So
He
this time.
asked me to write some lines. You know what?
Yeah, yes, yeah,
He gave me
yeah.
some lines to write. And I wrote the lines, and I gave it to him. And he said I wrote it from somewhere, whether it's history book or something. And he said I didn't do what he asked me to do. So he gave me another note. So I had to report to Mr. Ogumola, who was
Okay.
our house
Housemaster. Okay.
When I went to Mr. Ogumola, Mr. Ogumola sent somebody to go and call Kowode. And when he came, Mr. Ogumola lambasted him. He said, "What do you think we are doing?" He said, "I know that this is a good boy. I teach him. He's one of the best in my class." So Ogumola used to teach us Latin.
Oh, wow. Latin.
Yes.
I don't really make Latin.
Sorry?
We didn't
No,
meet
we
Latin.
had changed to French by the
Okay,
time.
okay.
I think we were probably the last. Well, no, we were not the last to do that. But French was started in
Okay.
the year after us.
Okay. Okay.
We didn't do French at all.
Okay.
So Mr. Ogumola said, "I know."
That's a good boy.
I told him off, really told him off. In my presence as well. But that didn't prevent the order of being read out in the assembly. So my father was very angry.
But having spoken against it, so it was still carried forward.
No, it has to go to assembly. You can
Wow.
So Mr. Ogumola said to me, "Yes, you want to embarrass me in front of his father and the whole school." And so I did he told him that they didn't think it was. I said, "He did what you asked him to do." So he was saying, "No, he didn't do what I asked him." I said, "But he wrote the lines. How many lines you asked him to write? He wrote it. So what is your problem?" He didn't write it from where I asked him.
Wow.
So that was the only embarrassing situation I ever had throughout the time I was at home. I was well behaved, and I normally did quite well academically, and I played sports. And
Okay.
things, so I wasn't. So it wasn't a problem for me.
Okay.
I say, because I wasn't. And I
Mentioned
don't think it was a problem for any of my brothers as well.
Okay.
For me, young boys will be young boys.
Yeah, sure.
That's normal. You
Yeah.
play pranks and things
Pranks,
like that.
that's right.
But generally, we were well behaved. People boys
Okay.
were well behaved. Generally, we were well behaved.
Okay.
So there was no real problem as far as that was concerned.
That's really good. I know you've mentioned it earlier, which subjects did you take to mainly?
Well, I would say that I did
enjoyed
well all round.
Okay.
I liked maths, particularly, and sciences.
Okay.
I liked maths and sciences. And in my higher school, I did pure maths, applied maths, and physics
Wow.
for my A-level, for my HSC.
Oh. That's
And I got the best ever result in the higher school at Igbobi
oh.
and for the Cambridge HSC.
Wow. This was in
1968.
Wow. Fantastic.
So I got A in physics, A in applied maths, and
Wow.
I got a B in pure maths. And I did in the London GCE. I had AAA in all the three subjects. So
Amazing.
I was lucky enough to get a Shell scholarship to study in the UK. So that's how I came to do my first degree in Manchester.
And that was immediately after the HSC.
Yeah. Well, in 1969, in those days, you finish the exams in December.
Okay, so
You have to
January.
wait 9 months before you go to university. Because
Session.
so what used to happen in those days was that people would walk
Okay.
or something.
That's
In fact, we
right.
used to have some Igbobi boys who finished their 6th form come and teach for
Those period,
for
that 9
period.
months. Okay.
So some of us.
Okay.
For instance, I was taught by Mr. Wycliffe and Mr. Bada, who had finished their HSC the previous year. He taught, Mr. Wycliffe taught us physics from 2, Mr. Bada taught us chemistry from 2.
Okay.
They had finished. When I finished, I got the scholarship, so I went to work for Shell in Warri for those
9
for
months.
about 8 months.
Okay.
We got the last month free before traveling.
I see. Manchester. I see. So, did they specify where you are to go, or that was where you wanted? You wanted Manchester?
You mean to university?
Yeah.
No, we had a choice. We filled in the what is now the UCAS.
Okay, yeah,
It
jump.
used to be called UCCA at that time. So we filled in the form like applying like any student, and we chose which university we wanted.
Okay.
Shell had, a number of universities that they recommended for us to choose from.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I chose Manchester.
Okay, I see.
In my Shell group, there were, I think, 20 students from all over Nigeria who went on the scholarship in my year.
Okay. Any other person from Igbobi with you, or
That year?
Yeah.
Not that year. But there were, the year before me, there was South Obahiago.
Okay.
Okay. There was an Obahiago who sat at the same table with me.
Okay.
Last,
I see. At the memorial lecture.
Yeah, but that's not him.
Okay.
That one is his junior brother.
I see. Okay.
But he was a year before me.
Okay.
He went to Loughborough University.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's dead now. He's dead now. But yeah.
Okay.
And in the year after me, there was Oshosanwo,
Okay.
who actually in his set was senior prefect.
Okay.
He went to Imperial College.
Imperial College London.
So there were Igbobi boys in various years.
Okay.
Even my youngest brother, Benga, was also a church scholar. But he went from Imperial College in his own time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
his only
see.
one was
I see. And then that scholarship, that was for the entire program, 4 years.
It was 3 years.
3 years.
The
Oh, okay.
bachelor's was 3 years.
Yeah, because he went with HSC. Yeah. Okay. Studying abroad, did you go home during the holiday or you stayed the entire 3 years?
Stayed. Well, I went home after my second year.
Okay.
Shell had a scheme in which they called it mid-scholarship break,
Okay.
which they paid for you to go to Nigeria.
Okay.
And they even offered you a vacation job during that summer with them in either Lagos or Port Harcourt or Warri.
Okay.
To work with them. But I didn't work with Shell.
Okay.
I went home. I went home for that summer in 71.
Okay.
No, I didn't work with Shell. I worked I did my vacation job at Federated Motor Industry.
Okay, I know it. Yeah, I think.
Because I was interested in
automobile. Okay,
so
I see.
I got that job. I worked with them.
I see.
That's all.
So after the mid-holiday, you then came back to finish up.
At the end, I was offered a job with
Manchester.
Shell.
Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Really?
No, I mean, the reason Shell were giving us scholarship, they were
To grab you.
training people to work
They were
for them,
employed. Okay.
to get some of the best people to work for them.
Okay.
But I didn't work for them.
Oh, why? Or was it not ready made?
I stayed on to do a master's at Manchester University. I was given a scholarship by the University of Manchester to do a PhD. But I stayed behind. But after 1 year, I decided I didn't like the topic I was doing. I didn't find it interesting enough. So I offered to submit a master's thesis and go and do something else. So I finished at Manchester with a master's after 18 months, and then I came to Birmingham to do a PhD. It was basically my father who encouraged me. I was toying with the idea. Actually, she offered me 2 jobs. One in engineering and the other in the computer division at that time. But I decided not to. There were other reasons. There were other personal reasons which discouraged me from
working
accepting to work for Shell. But my father basically encouraged me, said, you have a scholarship from the university, why don't you use it? So I used it.
And that was for the masters. Huh?
That was for the masters. Then I applied to Birmingham. I got an admission to do a PhD, and I got a federal government scholarship to sponsor me through that PhD.
So that was how the love for Birmingham came about.
Yeah, when I finished at Birmingham, I went back to Nigeria.
Okay.
And
What year was this?
I finished in 76.
Okay.
Fortunately, I was able to do my PhD in about 26 months.
Instead of 36.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I went back to Nigeria. I taught at University of Lagos. But meanwhile, I maintained
the relationship
with
Birmingham.
My boss, my supervisor, used to invite me to Birmingham every summer. I used to come and work with him on research projects in the summer. So I was always coming back to Birmingham. And then in 78, 79, I came to Birmingham on a study leave. So I spent a year in Birmingham on study leave doing a project for British Leyland.
The same Leyland Motors?
Yes, which consisted at that time of Jaguar, Land Rover, Austin, Morris, and all of those. It was a conglomerate. It used to call British Leyland at that time before they broke it up into the various companies. So I did some work based on my PhD research was on a project for British Leyland. So they called me back to come and help them to implement it within the company.
Organization. Wow.
Yeah. So I was here 78, 79 doing that. And I went back to Unilag. In those days, when you finished here, you couldn't wait to get back to Nigeria. Because we felt the opportunities were in Nigeria rather than here. It was unfortunately the politicians and military that spoiled everything.
Wow.
Yeah, that drove us back to here. But in those days, as soon as I finished my PhD in 76, I was on the way back to Nigeria. I didn't want to stay here.
Wow.
In those days, you say, I'm not shit on one.
Wow. So people were not, it wasn't the vogue to say people staying behind.
No, it wasn't the vogue. I'm not shit on one, really.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. That was the attitude there. And when I went back to the University of Lagos, the atmosphere at Unilag there was really hot. You had people who had come back from all over the world, from Canada, from United States, from Germany, from UK, all coming together. We were really looking to build a very thriving, not only teaching but research community. But unfortunately, the process wore us down eventually, and we had to. Let these people. And lower six, they had lower 6 arts, lower 6 science. And the upper 6 arts, upper 6 science. That was but in 1963, it became 2 arms. In both Form 1 and Form 2. Because they brought some students from outside to join the Form 2.
From other secondary schools.
So admitted into Form 2. So I was one of those who were admitted to Form 2 in 1963.
I see.
I
Okay.
came for the interview in 1961 to enter in 62,
Okay.
but I was not
Admitted. Okay.
I was on the waiting list. But
Okay.
in those days, if you're on the waiting list, you have no chance because the admission to Igbobi was very, very much priced.
Wow.
So hardly did you have anybody
Drop out.
dropping out. So, but as it happened, my father was interviewed for the job of principal at the Igbobi College
Okay.
in 1962. Towards the end of
62.
1962.
Okay. Okay.
And he resumed in 1963.
Okay.
And I was with him at Methodist High School, where I started
Okay.
my Form 1.
Okay.
And we moved, and I was admitted
I see.
amongst the other new students,
Okay.
students who came from other schools.
Okay.
So I joined in 1963.
Wow.
in Form 2.
In Form 2. Wow.
Yeah.
So I said proud today. It is 4 days. When you did the entrance exam in 61,
Yeah.
how was it?
It was tough. I mean, the exam itself was tough. But so they gave forms out to, I think they used to say at that time that no more than 500 forms were given out throughout the country.
Wow.
And out of the
500.
560 were selected for interview.
Wow. As far back as then,
Yes, and 30 were ultimately admitted.
admitted. Wow.
That
From
was
500 down to 60 shortlisted. That's
So-
serious.
So it was very tough. You know, I mean, if you got into Igbobi at that time, you were lucky and you were good. You had to be good and lucky to get through the process. The interview was tough because you are observed through those
Okay.
4 days.
Okay.
In your sports, and
Okay.
you were even to sing and things like
Okay.
that. All sorts of it was,
Activities.
It was they basically brought you to. It was like being sorry.
You finished or you still
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
So it was like actually coming to school for 4 days.
Okay.
Apart from the fact that you
Do your parents, the parents of the candidate, did they stay or?
no. They just dropped you off. So you were in the boarding house.
So they drop you on Thursday.
Yeah, and they come and pick you up Monday morning.
Wow. Amazing. Wow.
So we were in the classroom. They gave us lectures about Igbobi, how Igbobi boys have to be, rules, regulations,
Okay,
and things
okay.
and everything. Then we did some tests,
Okay.
arithmetic, we did English tests, we played sports,
Okay.
or football, we did some athletics. In the evening, we'll have something like a literary.
Okay.
If you wanted to sing
Okay.
or something,
Thank you.
and things like that. So, yes, so it was like being in school. And then
For 4 days.
after you had done the various tests, we did an interview as well.
Okay.
On Sunday, we went to chapel,
Okay.
like you normally do at Igbobi and everything. And so it was, but all the time you are under
Observation. I see.
so just to make sure that they selected people who they felt
Best behavior.
had the attitude, the correct attitude to
To fit in. I
So it
see.
wasn't based solely
On the entrance exam.
and on the exam, the test that you did. I was unlucky in the sense that I fell ill actually on the first day that I was I came to the thing. So I didn't take part in much of the sports at that time. So I don't know whether that affected my
performance or score
overall or not. But anyway. But as luck would have it, I ended up at Igbobi all the same, which was nice. So, but I mean, you will read it in that book.
Yeah.
About the process. It talks about it.
I see. Were other schools doing like that, or was it because the schools were not many at that time? Because this was 60s, right?
I don't know. I know some schools did like that. I believe probably King's College did something similar. But I don't think there was any school that did 4 days. I think most of them were probably 1 or 2 days. I don't believe there were any schools that did 4 days, but the Igbobi College was very, very comprehensive. All the prefects were there all the time observing you.
Wow. Were they not even putting you under, making people to be tensed,
No, they were there, but they observe how you interact with each other, things like that. It was all just part of the
process.
Yeah.
Good. Why? So you probably grew up in Okitipupa, so.
Yes, I went in my infancy. We grew up in Lagos because my father used to teach at Methodist Boys High School. And then in 1956, he was appointed to go to Okitipupa to start off the Methodist High School in Okitipupa. So he was the first principal there. And I went with him from amongst all the family. My mom and my other siblings stayed in Lagos, but I went with him to Okitipupa at that time. Later on, the rest of the family came to join us in Okitipupa. But yeah.
And then why? So even then, and then why did you then choose that Igbobi? Though of course you were in Lagos before.
Yeah.
Of the second, any particular thing?
Igbobi was famous at that time. Igbobi College was famous. I mean, when we were taking the entrance at that time, you took common entrance, which was for all the government secondary school.
Yeah, that's right.
King's College, Government College Ibadan, all of those schools at that time. Then I took Igbobi. Then there was also the Ionian schools like Christ School, Ado-Ekiti, the Ibadan Grammar School, and so on. So those ones were also. I took the Ionian entrance exam as well. And of course, I took the entrance exam to the Methodist school, the Methodist high school. I didn't get into the common entrance. I didn't do well enough in the common entrance. Igbobi, I got to the interview stage. Unfortunately, my father didn't want me to go to Ado-Ekiti, which I got admission to. So I stayed at Okitipupa for the Form 1 when I was in Form 1, and then moved on to Igbobi College in 63. So
I see.
In those days, most people would take the common entrance exam, and then they would take some of the secondary schools, like some would take Baptist Academy, Lagos, Methodist Boys High School,
Okay.
Igbobi College.
Okay.
Was really the one that competed more with the common entrance.
Okay.
Those two were regarded as the toughest places to get into.
There's Casey and Igbobi, right?
Sorry?
Which was the second one? King's College or?
Well, there was King's College, the common entrance at that time, all the all the government secondary schools like King's College, Queen's College, of course, Methodist Government College, Ibadan, Government College, Ugeli, Queen's School, Ede, at that time, which eventually moved to Ibadan.
Okay,
and,
right.
The ones that were government, we had, so you took the entrance exam and you chose some schools, 2 or 3. I think you made 2 or 3 choices.
Yeah.
And,
I think we met that one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Or something.
Yeah.
So based on that, and after that, people would choose like Igbobi College. Some would choose CMS Grammar School because they were Anglican, or Methodist Boys High School because they were Methodist. Some would choose Baptist Academy. And it was that sort of thing that you were able to choose which schools you applied to. So some people might do 5, 6 different entrance exams.
I see.
In those days, because each one had their own separately.
Okay. I see. And at first, when you didn't go through at the interview stage, how was it? If you still remember,
I was very disappointed. Obviously, that I didn't. That I got this letter that you were sorry, but I was on the waiting list. And I was hopeful that I might still get it, but the letter didn't come to say that. So that was.
So the letter never came.
Never came. So. I had to make do.
Critical power.
I started off at the power. Thank you.
And who was the principal then? That's when you first applied.
Okay. When I first applied, I think the principal then was. I'm not sure whether it was Mr. Babalola, who actually later on became Professor Babalola. I'm not quite sure whether it was him or the Reverend Matabese, who was a South African. He was. But what happened was in 1962, when the students came in, my set came in, Reverend Matabese was the principal. I think there had been a change. So. And he was principal until not to the end of 62. And he left. And Mr. Adeshola, who later became Reverend Adeshola, became the acting principal for the
rest of the year.
Remainder of the year. That was when the position was advertised and my father applied. And he got the job and he started on the 5th of January. We actually arrived at Igbobi College on the 5th of January 1963.
Wow.
Unfortunately, overnight, the assembly hall at Igbobi got burnt down.
By
Overnight, between, we don't know, on the night of the 4th to the morning of the 5th,
interesting.
the assembly hall got
Wow.
burnt down.
That's
And
serious.
that is what we arrived with more or less a chaotic situation
Wow.
at the school at that time.
And did that put you off to say, oh, did you foresee any chances of making it in by then?
No, well, we came in, we settled that my father had to cope with the situation, and so basically we didn't have an assembly hall anyway. So assembly was now held in the chapel.
Okay.
Assembly was held in the chapel because we didn't have an assembly hall, and it took a number of years for a new assembly hall to be built. In fact, I think the new assembly hall, which is the Angos Memorial Hall now, was actually opened in probably 1974.
Wow.
No, I think maybe 1973. Probably either 1973 or 1974 was when it was.
From that 63.
Yeah. Because it took time to raise the funds.
Okay.
And the old boys donated and to raise the funds to build. The assembly hall that was there was smaller.
Okay.
They had to build a bigger one because the school population had grown.
Increased, I see. So it's actually on one hand a case of Ile Obatojo.
They were really there.
And then just by the side, did they get anybody or did they unravel how things were, or they just the old boys just didn't bother?
There must have been investigations, but I don't know
the outcome.
I think they probably suspected that there were some students who played pranks or something like that. But nobody was ever directly accused of doing it. Okay. But that was the situation that was the situation in which we arrived at.
Wow. So it was afterward that you then did you didn't need to do the exam again.
No, I was just, because I was taken from another school along with about 20 something other students.
All on the waiting list before?
No, not necessarily on the waiting list. Just students who wanted to come to Igbobi, and they looked at their results from their various schools, and they were admitted based on that. So you didn't have to do any test or anything.
I see.
It was just a question of how they had done in their
previous
old schools, in the previous schools.
And was it you made the khaki then? That was, has it always been the khaki that was there?
Always been khaki right from the start in 1932 when the school was khaki shorts and khaki shirts. Mr. Ishubi.
Okay, I've heard the name, yes.
He was one of the early teachers at Igbobi. He used to wear khaki shorts as well, with a white shirt.
Even as a teacher?
Oh, yes. That was his uniform.
Was he an old boy? Or?
No, he wasn't. He was one of the teachers right at the beginning. I think his name is quite famous. He's a legend in Igbobi College.
That's right.
He taught people like Justice Elias.
Okay.
Elias,
Okay.
who was Chief Justice.
Okay.
And I remember in those days when we were working with him, because he was interested in horticulture.
Okay.
We had a horticulture in those days. I think one of the afternoons in the week, we had this thing where you belong to. You were either doing
the society,
or you were doing. Some people were doing handwork like plumbing, and we were learning stuff.
Something craft.
So instead, should be used to take charge of the horticulture.
Okay.
And I was, and we saw Justice Elias coming to the school at that time. Stop me! He greeted Baba, which is what we used to call Seshudu. And the old boys who used to come, they were frustrated.
Was he already the judge at the age then, or?
Oh yes, Justice Elias was already justice at that time. I don't think he was Chief Justice.
Okay.
But it was during the time I was at Igbobi that he became Chief Justice.
Okay.
And he used to come to, because he was a member of the Board of Governors.
Okay.
So he would come to see my father in the office, and so I got to see them.
Okay.
So Baba knew every Igbobi boy. He had a wonderful memory. When he sees you, he will call you by name.
Wow.
Fantastic man.
So he went from being teacher to become.
Sorry?
Did he become principal as well?
No, he wasn't principal. Because he wasn't a graduate. But he acted as principal for some time. In 1968 1967 to 68. My father took part in an exchange program.
Okay.
At the beginning of 1968, he took part in an exchange program organized by the British Council.
Okay.
In which he went to a school in London, and their head master or the principal came to Igbobi, to the principal at Igbobi, while my father.
Really?
Yes. In London. It was arranged by the British Council.
I see. Wow.
I forgot the name of Mr. Ford, I think was his name.
Okay.
So he was there for 6 months, but he had to go back before my father was due back.
Okay.
So during the period before my father came back, Mr. Ford, Mr. Ishubi,
acting principal.
As principal for that period. But he was vice principal. Mr. Ishubi was vice principal.
Okay. For the purpose of those of us and others, you didn't mention the name of your father, sir, because we know as principal, I've heard the name as well.
My father?
Yes, please. And the period of his tenure, 63 to 76.
Wow,
that's it.
He was there from 63 to 76 when he retired.
Wow.
He retired in September or August or September 1976 was when he retired. That was when Mr. Ojo took over as principal.
And then being there as the principal's son, how was it? Did you any favors, or what was it like being the principal's son?
I think the pressure was more on me, and of course my brothers who also went to Igbobi.
Oh, okay. How many?
Thank you. Well, all my
Should we
brothers.
continue with that?
Yeah?
Okay, all right.
Yes. Actually, I want to listen.
Okay. So meal time was boarding house available during your
Oh yes, Igbobi College had always been boarding house based from the start. But there were also a few day boys.
okay.
So in my time, I think the number of day boys was certainly less than 10%. Most
Of the brothers.
Most boys were in the boarding house.
Okay.
But I was not in the boarding house. I went from home